Hey, hey, it actually worked. Welcome everybody. Welcome Giants fans all around the world. This is Diehard Giants Live, and this is the very first live. I'll be pretty much talking about the roster, talk about David Gettleman and Joe Shane. I have Eru and Steph from NBK Fam in the background, and we're gonna talk some Giants, man. So let's bring them in.
Nice, man. That intro, I got to tell you, that intro had me banging my head on the floor just now. That
Thank you,
was nice.
sir. The crazy part is the way my brain works. It took you should have saw me how long it took me to find that intro. I was going through mad songs and I just chose that one.
I love it.
I had a whole bunch of other options too, but thank you very much. How the hell are you guys, man? Welcome to the show.
I'm good. I'm good. I feel like you didn't invited me into your living room and it's crispy. It's just real, real nice.
Real nice. I'm afraid to touch anything. I got my hands in my pockets and stuff. I don't want to break nothing.
Nah, man, make yourself at home. This is Die Hard Giants Live. Salute to everybody watching. The new program that I'm using is called Ecamm Live, so that's why it probably looks a little bit different from StreamYard or Restream or a lot of other programs that people are using. I'm trying to see. I can't find where the YouTube chat is, but I'm gonna have to figure that out too. I'm gonna put the chat on something else because I can't see that. I thought it was supposed to come up. As you can see, this is it's also the first test live too. It's not just the show. This is actually a test to get everything going because I never used this program before. So hopefully everything goes smoothly today. So let's just get into how you guys feel about the new regime. Like I'm the type of person that really did not like David Gettleman the last 4 years. I actually didn't like him when we signed him in the first place. So
Yeah.
it's been a very frustrating 4 years for me. But now, I've seen the light at the end of the tunnel, and I actually think that the new regime that we have with Joe Shane and Brian Dable for Buffalo, I actually think they're going to do pretty good. I don't think the roster is all that yet, but that's not their fault. It's pretty much David Gettleman's. And I think they inherited a nightmare, but I really think that they're actually going to turn things around. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, just right off the bat, Gettleman, it's just like when I just hear his name, it just sounds so soulless, with the Giants and stuff. Everything, when teams win, they kind of have like a little energy about them.
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks right now with Leon Rose, they seem to be doing that. Yankees seem to be fluttering. They're trying to figure that out, really, but I think they're on the path too. But I think the Giants, they by cutting that head off, man, I think they're finally on like a pace now where they can finally find their soul again. That's what I think.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, Gettleman was too old school for me,
Yeah.
and I just think that he had carte blanche because he knew, not just knew the owners, was close with the owners, almost like family, right?
Right.
And I just felt like he was able to make decisions that, like Barkley, for example, like just
Right.
make decisions that, even for me, taking Daniel Jones at 6, just decisions that, you know, maybe another coach that's not that familiar with ownership,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they would have got carte blanche to make a lot of the decisions that Gettleman made, and I think he dug a little hole for the Giants that they, I don't. Hopefully they can get out of it this year. It may be a few years.
Right. It was terrible decision after terrible decision. Like Saquon Barkley being picked at second, just to pick any running back at second, was just, I don't know, it's like malpractice.
Yeah,
It's-
when you're building a football team, you got to do quarterback first before the running back. You can't have the running back first and then talk about the quarterback. And there were quarterbacks on the board that should have been picked for the Giants at that time too. So
Man, I don't even want to think about it, man. Josh Allen, we could have had Josh Allen. We could have had, I think Lamar Jackson came out that year. A
Right.
couple other people came out, a couple other players that came out that year that we could have drafted that actually failed too. Like we could have had Sam Darnold, I believe, and I'm pretty sure that none of us want him. But
Yeah.
yeah, this
And rest in peace. Who was the quarterback? Was that the same guy from Washington? He was in the Daniel Jones draft as
Oh
well.
yes, Dwayne Haskins. Yes, he was because I
yeah,
was one of the. That's not the Saquon Barkley draft though. That's the Daniel.
No,
That's the
that was
year
Daniel.
right after.
Yes,
But
yes,
yeah,
yes.
right after each other. It was bad decision after bad decision. I actually wanted Dwayne Haskins over Daniel Jones, but I don't know, from the outside looking in, and in hindsight, I should say, it was pretty a good. It was pretty much a good decision to pick Daniel Jones if you're going to pick out of those two. Rest in
Right.
peace to Dwayne Haskins, but
Right.
he was pretty much flailing out of the league. When the tragedy happened. So I don't want to talk bad about him because he passed away, but yeah, he wasn't the best quarterback either.
Right.
So yeah, I'm trying to think about it. Like Joe Shane. Let's get off of David Gettleman for a second because he's gone now. The one thing did take me off before I get off of David Gettleman because this would probably be the last time I mention him because that's how much I hated him. Unless it's in a very very disrespectful way. I don't want to get too crazy, especially not on the first show. But what really ticked me off is that they gave him pretty much like a retirement party. Instead of firing him,
Right.
they let
Right.
him walk out of the building without saying anything to anybody, and the press release is just that he retired.
Right.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's a crock. Like to me, that was like the worst thing you can do, especially with the owners how they are. They don't really speak that much either. They didn't. It just forced everybody to not put blame on David Gettleman when we really wanted to.
But that's what you do for family, and that's what I'm saying. He was,
Right.
and that's why they allowed him to leave like that.
Right. So
Yeah.
what do you guys know about Joe Shane? Other than he's from Buffalo, have you done any research other than he's from Buffalo?
He's from Buffalo, and that he did a good job over there. That's about all I know.
Right, he was an assistant GM over there. But yeah, he did a pretty good job. He seemed like he's pretty bright. He's young. I actually like the coach Brian Dable that he brought over, who was the offensive coordinator. You guys know anything about Brian Dable? Other than that, like other than him being the OC for Josh Allen, because a lot of people just harp on that. But yeah, he's been coaching for a very very long time, and he actually has 5 Super Bowl rings.
Wow.
Wow. Well, I'm hoping whatever he did with Josh Allen. See, I don't know if Daniel Jones is the same type of talent though.
Right.
But hopefully Daniel Jones will get better. But also, let's keep in mind that Josh Allen coming out of college, there was some question marks, around him as well. As far as I believe it was his accuracy, if I'm not mistaken. Like he had an arm on
Yeah.
him, and
Very unorthodox.
a
Right.
little erratic or something like that, and that he was able to under Dable. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah.
Was able to hone it in and basically get the best out of him. Because when I saw him, I think it was year 2, I was like, wow.
Word.
I was like,
Right.
look at Josh Allen.
Like
Yeah.
I
Like
actually
it's like
put
a Madden quarterback, right? Just the way he throws, he almost looks like a video game. Like
right. A lot of people like when I'm like a draft nerd, especially even when it came to, like the basketball. You guys know that from the shows that I've done with you guys. But in football, I'm really a draft nerd. So Josh Allen, when I scouted him, he's pretty much he might have the strongest arm I've ever seen from any quarterback ever. It's like Dan Marino, uh, John Elway. Who else had a strong arm? There's a lot of strong arm quarterbacks that weren't that good, but he has all
Favre.
the two.
You think he's like Brett Favre, man?
Oh, his arm is stronger than his too, and he
Yeah.
had a hell of an arm too. But yeah,
Wow.
like Josh Allen is the man. He just had accuracy issues, just like Steph said. But yeah, the arm talent from him is pretty much generational. That's
Yeah.
what makes Josh Allen Josh Allen. Him and his size also.
Yeah. He's a rock star too, man. You saw him come out there with those red shades, man. Oh man,
Right, right.
he looked like a superhero. Like I'm like that's incredible.
Coming from Wyoming too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like he wasn't recruited highly coming out of high school. He just had a big arm and nobody really believed in him. But yeah, he went to Wyoming, grew a lot, got bigger, and he pretty much got drafted in the first round because of his intangibles. He didn't really do, it's not like he won any type of championships or did anything of note in Wyoming. He was just a good quarterback talent and arm talent.
Yeah. Well, when you have like higher ups and stuff like the general managers that they brought in, like I can't pronounce his name. Sean, how do you pronounce it?
It's actually Shane.
Shane.
Like
Okay.
it looks like when you write it out, it actually looked like Sean because of the O, but the O is silent. It's Shane.
Right. But these guys, they're like leaders. They empower people. Same thing with Babbitt as offensive coordinator over there and with the Bills. They empowered him to get to his greatness. So I guess them coming over to the Giants, I guess the front office hope is that they would do the same thing for our guys, to empower them to get them in the right spots, to believe in themselves at least. Because if anything, the Giants, everything is a little bit kind of thrown off with the way that we pick things and we kind of behind the eight ball. But I mean, the talent is there. They just need someone behind them that's a football mind and that can really put things in perspective and put things where they need to be, where guys can feel confident and be successful. I think that's what's going on now with the Giants, I believe.
Right.
I don't know if the talent is there in every position, but I hear what you're saying though. Um, you know, you want when you don't have great talent, even when you do or you don't, you definitely want to create an environment or a culture where they can excel.
Right.
And hopefully that's what they're able to do.
Well, we're about to go over the roster. Like, when you actually look at the roster, we're really not that talented. It's going to be a long season.
Yeah,
So we're going to go head over to the DGL film room.
that's nice, man. I like that a lot.
Thank
Yeah, I
you,
like
sir.
a lot.
So this is actually, did a little PowerPoint presentation we can give you guys. Uh, Hold on. The team captains. See, the team captains, I thought it was a little weird with the team captains because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's usually like two per unit, maybe like two offensive, two defensive, two special teams. They got like 10 people. So that's a little weird to me. But we figured it out.
well, talent wise, you were saying like stuff. I agree. The talent is not where it should be. Whatever. There's a lot of guys that are just misplaced on the Giants and stuff. But
Mhm.
at least put these guys in a spot where you can see them do something. Let see what they give them a spot. See what they do
Right.
with it, and then now you can say, okay, this guy gotta go. He gotta go. He gotta go. He's not
Right.
real. Then
Right.
you can make those moves accordingly. But with the prior regime, we were just kind of just throwing stuff against like you said, nepotism and all this other stuff happening with the team. So
Hmm.
you couldn't really see what was happening. The roster building, you couldn't really, really see how they were developing. Even themselves, I bet you they couldn't even see what they were doing. So I
Right.
think now at least, they're trying to put their ducks in a row. I think with all this.
And that was mainly because of the, like the different regimes that came through when it came to the coaching staff. Like, even though David Gettleman was there, like Daniel Jones, take him for example. Like, he went through three head coaches in 4 years. Like, a lot of people don't really put that into account.
Right.
Yeah,
And when you have four coaches, or three coaches, I should say, when you have three coaches and you have three offensive coordinators with three completely different systems, Daniel Jones in the last 4 years have learned this is his third foreign language, pretty much. Because when you actually look at a NFL playbook, it's really like learning a different language when you open it. Like, it's completely different than what you did last year if you're playing for a different coach, and especially if you're a quarterback. So he's been up against the wall just because of his like situation. Like, it's not just because of with talent with Daniel Jones. I'm not saying that he's
Right.
like the end all and be all in quarterbacks, or he's supposed to be our quarterback of the future, or even our quarterback for the rest of this season. You never know. But the way that they put him in the situations that they put him in, like he was destined to fail. Nobody would have been successful. Like, say if we would have drafted Josh Allen instead of him, Josh Allen would not look like Josh Allen now.
right.
He'll look
That's
like
a
a completely different person.
good point.
Yeah,
So this is the offense. I actually put Daniel Jones all the way at the bottom because I figured we was going to talk about him last, because he's like the hot button topic of discussion when it comes to the roster. But I mean, we could start with the wide receiver core.
That might
Um,
be the strongest. No, I like the edge as well. Um, Kenny Holiday.
yeah, this is just the offense. So when it comes to the offense, our
Hmm.
wide receiving core, because of Kenny Galladay, a lot of people does not know this, but Kenny Galladay is the highest paid wide receiver in the league this year.
Wow.
wow.
And
Yeah,
that is because of David Gettleman and the way he signed his contract. So that's why I said, like, they pretty much inherited a nightmare. Like, we had the least amount of cap space when the offseason started. We had the least amount of cap space with a rookie quarterback getting paid on a rookie scale. So that's unheard of. Like, nobody Like I can't remember the last team who has ever done that.
Right.
So
Yep.
Dave Gettleman pretty much cursed like whoever would have came in and took his place. Like they were behind, you know, rocking a hard place as soon as they stepped into the building.
Right.
Yeah, he's wasting his own time with that. Because the rookie quarterback with a high paid receiver, that doesn't make any sense. You stranglehold yourself with that. How do you, like you said, the next regime down, and now they have to clean up all of this.
Exactly. So with the highest paid receiver, even though we had the highest paid receiver and signed him last year, look at the offensive line for the past 3 years.
Right.
Right.
Like, but they've been one of the worst in the league. So when I say Daniel Jones has been put up against it, like, there's no way he would have been successful. No quarterback would have been successful with the way this roster is constructed.
But even with that, I know we're going to get to Daniel Jones. They still didn't extend his contract.
Well, yeah, that was a smart move because since they messed him up so bad in the past, you really don't know. You don't know if he's like nobody knows if he's our franchise quarterback or not. The answer could actually be yes. It depends on how he plays this season, how he plays under Brian Dable and his offense. But most likely, just by looking at his talent, I'm pretty sure that they're going to move on from him. But it's not a foregone conclusion that they are, though. Like if he really plays well, and even if it's not about winning and losing games, it's about how he plays because the roster is so depleted in a way, especially in certain positions. We'll get to the defense in a little bit because they're depending on the position, our defense is going to be terrible. But yeah, we'll talk about that. But yeah, by the way that offense is now, Daniel Jones, if he plays well, he actually might be our quarterback going forward. Because even if we don't win a lot of games and we have a high draft pick, we don't have to use it on a quarterback. It just depends on how he looks.
But do you think with this roster that he's going to have a better chance this year than the previous years? Like, do you think that the old line? I know Andrew Thomas is playing well, and
Hmm.
there's talk that he may even be a Pro Bowl. But do you think that, and say Quan Barkley, if he has a bounce back season, my question is, do you think that the offense this year is going to give him a better chance than the previous years?
Yeah, simply because of the coaching staff that we have. Like last year, we had Joe Judge and Jason Garrett as our offensive coordinator. We
Right.
already know how that looked. We was like having quarterback sneaks on third down, like 3rd and 9, quarterback sneak just so we could punt.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I watch Giants games. Sometimes you look at it like, what is going on? Because it's war. Like war. You have to think 2 steps ahead, and it's game planning, right? So you're
Hmm.
looking at stuff like, what are they doing? It's like I'm playing like a novice on Madden. Like the guy
Right.
just clicking plays. I don't really know what he's doing. You know?
Exactly. Now, so if you're gonna have the guy who had the offense in Buffalo, like don't get me wrong, Josh Allen, like I said, he has a generational talent when it comes to his arm, but it was still because of Brian Dable and his offense is the reason Josh Allen is who he is.
Yeah.
Like even though Brian Dable is gone, they pretty much have the same system in Buffalo. They just had the person who was under Brian Dable is their offensive coordinator now, who is Ken Dorsey, I believe, ex quarterback from Miami Hurricanes. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know who that is because he won a championship there. But I
Yeah.
believe that he's the offensive coordinator in Buffalo now.
Right.
And the offensive coordinator that we have now is Mike Kafka. Mike Kafka is an ex quarterback that played in the league for a couple years. He was a backup. I believe he played for Minnesota. But after he retired, he got into the coaching ranks and he's been the quarterback coach for Kansas City for the past few years. So he has he has a stock in building up Pat Mahomes.
Okay. Well,
Absolutely.
Because even though
have to do.
right, Eric Bieniemy is the OC over there, but Eric Bieniemy doesn't call plays. Andy Reid calls plays. So pretty much, Eric Bieniemy and Mike Kafka was pretty much schooled under Andy Reid for the past couple years. So the fact that we picked him to be our OC, I really am excited for what our offense is going to look like, regardless of who plays quarterback. Our offense is going to look completely different.
Yeah. Kafka got a little crazy in his eye, man. His eyes are kind of close
He
together. Got
looks
the big old
super crazy.
eyebrows.
I
Like
always he looked like a Marvel villain.
Yes, absolutely. He looks like he could play Doctor Doom or something like that. He's a good.
Or Neymar or something like that if he had pointy ears. Like the way his face look, he always has like a mean face. Like he doesn't look like an offensive guy at all. You would think that the defensive coordinator would look like that, but Mike Kafka looks scary. Like, and plus he's an ex quarterback, and he's still in shape. So he's like, you
That's
know,
the main thing too for me. Like having a coaching staff, and especially football, where guys are in shape. You
hmm
know, at least they have the strength about them. They have the wits about them. Where these guys are like massive athletes, and they get attitudes or getting frustrated. But then if the coaching staff's giving it up, just like how I'm giving it up, I think that breeds culture there. So I think that's why these guys were successful. In their careers here, man. I'm glad we have these guys. I'd like to have real football men here that
hmm
that you can look at them. You can trust them to run what we're trying to do, whatever we're trying to do.
nice, nice, nice.
But the thing about it is, do you think the offense is going to look? I mean, part of it is scheme and the coaches and talking them up and putting them in the best position to succeed. But another part of it is the talent, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, do you think the offense is talented enough to take advantage of the schemes they're going to put in place?
To be honest, if you compare our skill players alone to the rest of the league, then yes. The answer is very much yes, just because of Saquon Barkley. Since this is his second year coming off the ACL, I
Mhm.
actually think Saquon Barkley, if you had, well, the league has started today, so I'm pretty sure everybody's fantasy football is gone. But I tried to get my hand on Saquon Barkley like in the second round before anybody else could take, because a lot of people think he's going to have a down year. Most players, especially when it comes to running back, say if they do have an ACL, it's the second year that they're fully back. Like last year, he got hurt too with his ankle, but I didn't expect a lot from him last year because it was his first year back from an ACL. This is his second, so I actually think he's 100%. And they know how to use him. And you can tell by the way Buffalo used their running backs out of the backfield last year. Like, we might not actually run the ball that much. At least they didn't in Buffalo. But with Saquon and with our upgraded offensive line, we can run the ball, and Saquon will probably have up to almost 100 catches out of the backfield, I would guess.
Yeah, I can see that. He has good hands. He has, and he can run after the catch also.
Right. A lot of people forget in his rookie year, Saquon Barkley had over 90 catches. I think he had like 91 balls when he was a rookie.
Mm.
So if he could do that as a rookie in an offense that wasn't good, like I'm really, really excited about Saquon Barkley. In
Yeah.
terms of the other talent when it comes to wide receiver, we used this year's draft pick in the second round on Wendell Robinson. A lot of people didn't like that pick because he's a smallish guy, but he can pretty much do anything on the football field other than play quarterback. Like he was one of those like high school stars, little league stars. Like he's been known in his area ever since he was little.
Yeah.
Just being
But
in
they
the open
have,
field and can't tackle him. Say that again. I'm sorry, Steph.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you
That's
were
okay.
finished. But they have him as the second wide receiver, not in the slot. They have him outside.
No, I think the outside is at the bottom towards the tight end. That would be Kadarius Tony. I was going to
Oh,
talk about him too.
that makes more sense. Okay.
Right, he's the wide receiver that we picked in the first round last year. Now, and Kadarius Tony, he is very, very talented. In terms of open field, he actually might be one of the hardest players to tackle in the entire football league. But he's injury prone, and he got hurt a couple times last year. Like he gets hurt a lot, little nagging injuries too. Like he's never had a torn ACL or anything like that, but he would get hurt just enough for him not to be able to play.
Yeah.
So,
Do
but
you think his personality, like wide receiver wise, wide receivers are always super cocky. So
mhm.
do you think his personality is kind of like negative? Because he was complaining about touches and Daniel Jones wasn't really getting him, taking advantage of him. A lot of times he wasn't getting any catches during some games last year. So
Right.
he had a lot of frustration. Do you think,
Nah,
his personality?
I actually think I actually don't mind that when it comes to my wide receivers. That is actually the position I love the most and study the most.
Yeah.
So wide receivers, I have no problem with why wide receivers voicing their frustration. Just don't get too crazy. Don't get me wrong. I don't want him to turn into OBJ and start tackling the net on the sidelines or anything like that. Even though I love OBJ, uh, but yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all because last year was so bad. Like, what was he supposed to do when you're a rookie first round pick that can't get the ball?
Yeah.
Like they couldn't run. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't pass the ball. They couldn't do anything. So with Kadarius Tony, Robinson. We haven't talked about Sterling Shepard, who is our longest tenured player on the whole team.
Yeah.
Even though it seemed like we just drafted him like a few years ago.
Mhm.
He's just coming off of an Achilles tear, but he's 100%. They say so. We're pretty much ready to go when it comes to the offense. On in the wide receivers,
How confident are you in this wide receiver core compared to the rest of the division?
the rest of the division, I think is definitely comparable with the Eagles. They have Brown over there from Tennessee. They got AJ Brown and they have Smith, who they drafted in the first round right before Tony. So, yeah, they're good, and the Eagles are going to be good. Dallas, they have CD Lamb over there. They don't have Amari Cooper over there either, so their receiving core actually dips a bit. So
Right.
when it comes to Washington, they have Scary Terry McLaurin, and they got a rookie Dotson out of Penn State, but they don't really have anybody of note other than Terry McLaurin over there. So in terms of the division, on paper, we have the best wide receiver core in the division on paper.
Wow. Is the wow? Okay. Wow. Is the wide receiver on offense, is that our most talented group more so than the line?
Yeah, because our line, Andrew Thomas, who was our number one pick a couple years ago, he struggled a couple years, but last year he actually did pretty good. Like the middle of our line is our problem. Our
Right.
number
Yeah.
one of our number one picks this year is Evan Neal. Evan Neal is going to be a monster, but it's just going to take a little time because he's a rookie and he's going to start. So if you're going to be a starting offensive tackle in the league, like it's either feast or famine. Like he's either going to be a Pro Bowler or somebody that needs a year of seasoning. That's how it
Yep.
usually is.
He makes me nervous because I keep thinking about Flowers, man.
Why Flowers?
Because I mean, Flowers was so trash as a lineman, man. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I don't want Neil to be there. I'm having like PTSD. I hate like he used to make me so mad just watching the Giants because you like it's like any sport. You're a fan of the team, that whatever. You just want them to do so well, and when they do little things, and you're just like, yo, oh my god, what is going on? And then
Right.
you play. So I mean, you can see like little things that the guys do, like mannerisms and just technique and stuff like that. Oh my god! And they were saying that it was stuff about Evan Neal that's like mostly technique. Am I correct?
Right,
They were saying that he's having a problem with. So
right.
I'm like, man, I don't want to have that situation again.
I think for me, it's only
Another Andrew Thomas though, who
mhm,
struggled a little bit. Can he be another Andrew Thomas? Let's think positive. Who
I'm
struggled a
hoping.
little
I'm
bit in the
hoping. Yeah.
beginning,
right,
but
right.
then was able to blossom.
In terms of prospect wise, coming out of college, like say if they came out the same year, Evan Neal might have been picked ahead of Andrew Thomas, but they are both really, really highly regarded offensive tackles. Like they both was picked in the top 10. So
Yeah.
think about that. So they have the talent to be good. They just have to do it.
But Andrew Thomas had decent technique though, and then
Hmm.
I like his energy. He had good energy. To me, very good energy. So
Hmm.
you were hoping that he would do well. Just some of the other guys that they've had, especially at center and some of the middle guards there.
Hmm.
What do you think about some of these guys like Glowinski and Feliciano playing center and stuff like that?
See, that's what I was saying. The middle, it's the middle of our line that we need to have is a serious upgrade, and we have a problem. Like we had our third round pick, who is Josh Azudu, who's our backup now. He was hurt throughout training camp, so he really didn't get to play that much during the preseason.
Yeah.
But the guys that we have are pretty much fill-ins when it comes to the middle of the line. So I actually think there's still upgrades from last season. The biggest hole that we have is left guard.
Mm,
Like our starting left guard, Shane Lemieux, got hurt during the preseason.
Right.
right.
So if our starting guard got hurt, our backup, who is Josh Azudu, who's a rookie who didn't play during the preseason because he got hurt in training camp, he's our backup. So like we have a serious hole at left guard. What's his name? Ben Brenson. Like he just I don't
That's
know.
not a good sign. You have to say
Right.
what's his name.
Exactly.
like
Like
what's
he's
the,
like I
oh
remember him getting drafted, but he's not really a good player. Like he's probably the worst player on the line. He's a fill-in.
oh man.
But Josh Azudu, I mean, you said so he was injured. He missed most of training camp. But
Hmm.
was he supposed to start at center or
No,
guard?
he was supposed to be still the backup for either right or left guard. That's just because Shane Lemieux was our starting left guard. Talent wise, Josh Azudu, even though he's a rookie, is going to take over that position at some point because he was drafted in the third round. So that should tell you how talented he is. So he was going to take over the position eventually, but yeah, he wasn't supposed to start.
Which position though? Center or guard?
Left guard.
Left guard. And so Shane Lemieux, you think would have been off the team? You like
No, no,
next?
no. Shane Lemieux was our starting left guard, and he got hurt.
Right, right, right,
So Josh Azudu was supposed to be his backup. So, but he didn't play because he got hurt also.
right. But I mean, just in terms of the roster construction, when they
Hmm.
drafted him, they
Hmm.
had Sean Lemieux at left guard. Did they draft Azudu for
To take
down the
his
line for what
right,
position?
right, exactly, to take his place down the line. Yes,
To take his place down the line. Okay,
right. Like so Shane Lemieux was our starting left guard. He got hurt, but eventually Josh Azudu was going to take over that position.
got you.
Right. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't want to talk about the tight ends that much because that is probably the most depleted position by far. As you can see, there's only two players there, and our starting tight end is a rookie that we drafted in the fourth round.
But they're high on him. Like there was a Bleacher Report that he was the like steals of the draft, and
Yes.
they had him listed. But as a rookie, I would expect there's going to be some growing pain.
Yes.
They were raving at him for at the draft. They were raving when they were talking about him. So I was like, okay, cool.
Right. I really, really like them too. But when it comes to rookie tight ends, they don't really produce that well. That's why I'm really not looking forward to. I don't really see him having a lot of flashes this year. But going forward, he probably will be our starting tight end. And he was the steal of the draft because the type of offense that he was in college. He went to San Diego State. He was mostly a blocking tight end.
I
Right.
was gonna say that they
Right.
were talking more about him being a blocking guy. So that they were talking about him helping Saquon and stuff.
Hmm.
That's one thing I want to bring up too. Do you think they'll use Saquon and also this guy Breida too? Being a blocker
Hmm.
for to help out in the backfield,
Hmm.
protecting the quarterback. With the with the weapons that we have.
Hmm.
Do you think they'll use those guys more to be blockers like that?
Yeah, at least they should, especially with Saquon because he has to get better at that. That's
Right.
probably the one hole that Saquon has in his game. He is not a good blocker. He never has been, not even in college or like he's just never. I don't want to say he never applied himself because he physically he can do anything he wants to do. So
Yeah.
him being a bad
Booty
blocker
guy.
is on
Ooh.
him. You know what I'm saying? So like he's just a bad blocker. He needs to get better at that.
Right.
Yeah.
But let me back to Bellinger. From what I've
Hmm.
read, you're right. At San Diego State, he was more blocking
Hmm.
tight end, but they were pleasantly surprised at his ability to catch
Right.
and
Yeah.
to line up inside, inline, and outline, or just inline. Because the article I read, they had a lot of that he was pretty versatile on the offensive end. Is that true?
Right. Is is
In terms
is
of where you can line them up?
is really true, and that's how it's so hard and difficult to scout these players because you have to think about it. It's just like the NFL when it comes to college, even more so in college that your production is based on the scheme that they use. Every college is different. So since he went to San Diego State, their running team predominantly, obviously. So he
Yeah.
didn't get that many balls like thrown to him. But when you actually scout him and see him run routes, and when he did catch the ball, like he doesn't drop the ball. Like I don't think he had a drop in like 2 seasons, in the last 2 seasons when he was in college, just because of his soft hands. But when it comes to athleticism, his route running, just from the eye test, he looks like an NFL tight end. It's just the system that he was in.
He looks like a superhero. It's the same thing like we're saying that coaching style looks like super villains.
Right.
Some of these guys that we picked up, Saquon with the big old trunks that he got, man. Kadarius too. Some of these guys are like superheroes, man. Even we didn't talk about Tyrod at all, but he's an Adonis himself, So we got a lot of big
Right.
time athletes, You want to talk about leadership in that way, where guys are just in shape and just physically ready to play, man. I mean,
Right.
it's exciting in that way. And
Right. People actually don't even realize how big Daniel Jones is. Daniel Jones is like 6'5", 235, solid. Like that, he's a big kid, an athletic kid that can outrun people too.
Yeah,
Like all these people are athletic and can play. It's just that the type of coaching staff that we had wasn't good, so they didn't put them in the good positions that they need to be in.
Well, that's what I'm hoping changes with Daniel Jones.
Right.
Because say like, okay, he's kind of mobile, but we're not really using him. I mean, he would come out of the pocket, ever so often, but I
Hmm.
just thought they could be much more creative with how they use him. So let's see what happens with Daniel Jones in this regime.
Right. So just in case if Saquon Barkley does go down, if you want to just switch over to the running backs, you mentioned Matt Breida. Yeah, I don't know about him because he often gets injured as well. If you
Mhm.
actually look at his injury history, so if Saquon go down, we'll probably be in trouble in running back because yeah, we don't have none of our running backs really stay healthy. And the third string, Bartwell, is pretty much Brightwell is pretty much a special teams guy. Like he's not going to run the ball that much unless it's something catastrophic happened. Like two or three of our running backs went down. He's on the roster because he's our like special teams ace for the last 2 years. He got drafted last year.
Okay. How do you feel about Antonio Williams? Because I'm just looking at box scores and I seen that he was getting a lot of work in the preseason.
Yeah,
What do you think of Antonio?
yeah, he's pretty good. They brought him over from Buffalo, just like every other coaching regime. They always bring like a couple players over. Like it was him, a couple other players too, like John Feliciano, our starting center. He was a Buffalo person. He came over from Buffalo.
Right.
He's starting. He's another person that's starting because our original starter got hurt. Our original
Right.
starting center was Nick Gates.
Right.
So he got hurt and last year, and it was a pretty big injury. So we had to bring somebody else in, and we brought him in because he went to Buffalo, and he fits just because of that. So that's why I said in the middle of the line is pretty much patchwork. Like they all need to be upgraded going forward after this season.
But that guy Feliciano too, he was crying a lot too because he wants to play center. They had
Right.
him playing good, but he's like, give me a shot. He wants to be the guy in the middle. Do you think he could do it? Talking is one thing, but do you think
Right.
he can actually play the center?
That remains to be seen, man, because it's really, really hard playing the center. Center is probably the most difficult position on the line because they have to make calls just like quarterbacks do. Like all the blocking schemes that we go through, like we don't see it as fans, but when the quarterback goes up to the line, he calls out stuff, but the center is calling out stuff too. We just don't hear it.
Yeah.
So when in terms of that, he can do it. I would guess because they wouldn't put him in the position if they couldn't. But it's actually good that he's from Buffalo, that he comes from where the coaching staff is coming from because he knows the system pretty much.
Right.
So that's why he's at our starting center now. All right. I'm thinking like we already talked about Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor. Everybody knows Tyrod Taylor. Like
Mhm.
he's just a staple that's going to be on this team just in case Daniel Jones needs to be either benched or hurt because Daniel Jones get hurt a lot because he runs.
Yeah.
I do have a question about Daniel Jones though.
Sure.
In this offense, are they gonna mix it up? Is it gonna be in the pocket? Are they gonna give him an opportunity to run? Like if you're familiar with the offense they're running, are we gonna see something different from Daniel Jones, or basically just running if he needs to escape pressure?
Hopefully, it's running to escape pressure just like they did Josh Allen because Josh Allen, just as athletic as Daniel Jones when it comes to how fast he is and how big he is. He's even a little bigger than Daniel Jones, but he ran to get, to escape. Like he wasn't Cam Newton. Like even though he might have the same like physical characteristics as Cam, he ran when he had to. So hopefully they have him running when he has to. I don't think they should put him in a whole bunch of RPOs, which is run pass option. Hopefully they would just have him in the pocket, working on his accuracy and hitting wide receivers. I don't want him running because that's when we get bad Daniel Jones when he starts running.
Yeah.
Because
It's like
he's a turnover machine. Like he got butterfingers, man. It's like as soon as you touch him, he fumbles the ball. That's how he was the past, 2 seasons, or the past 3 seasons, I should say.
Right. Is he better? I didn't watch him last. I think I watched like two Giants games last season. Is he better at feeling the pocket collapsing? Like that was something I just could not understand with him. You can't feel that. You can't feel how close they are on you. You
Right,
want
man.
better with that?
Because you got to think about how bad our offensive line was. So it was a lot of times where he ran when he didn't have to, because like you have like a clock in your head when you constantly get hit every play. So
I,
yeah, like he was calling hike 1-2. I'm getting the hell out of here.
yeah, yeah, Jarrell, you play football, man. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? So listen, I play football, but there's a reason why I stopped playing football. Because like when you talk about feel, like you can feel somebody coming after you, man.
right,
Couldn't
It's not
feel
a good
himself.
feeling.
He would just stand right there still and then get set. I'm like, yo, you
right,
feel that? You can take 2 steps the other direction.
right. That's the maturation process of every quarterback, man. Some quarterbacks are good at it. Some people have to work at it. Like with Daniel Jones, it really does remain to be seen. I have no idea if he's actually good in the pocket just because how bad our coaching staff was.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
how
definitely.
bad our line was. Every time he called hike, it like after like 2 seconds, he was either on the ground or running for his life.
Yeah, like Forrest Gump, man. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Are you stupid or something? Like no, stupid is what stupid does, kind of thing. You know, like come on, man.
right. He was getting the ball in his hand. He saw a couple people and he was out. And I didn't, I couldn't really blame him. But he's a
Don't
tough
really
kid.
blame him for that. It was when he didn't feel the pressure. He would just stand in there and get
Yeah,
sacked. And I'm like,
Right.
you did not feel them coming up
yeah.
on you?
He needs a Bubba to come behind him and say, "But
I know,
Forrest,
right?
run, Forrest."
Yeah, that's the thing about Daniel Jones, man. We got to see. Like, we have no idea yet. That's what's so nerve wracking about this season. Like, I'm excited about the coaching staff, but when it comes to Daniel Jones and what he's going to do, I do think they're going to have him in the right places to make the right plays, but we don't know if he's going to make the right ones yet.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only thing you can really say about him. Like the quarterback is the most important position on the field, obviously. So
Right.
we're going to go as much as Randall, as much as Daniel Jones goes.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over to the defense. The offense, I actually think the offense is going to be okay. That's why I didn't really, a lot of people think about our offense when it comes to the last couple years.
yeah,
Just by from the preseason, I can tell is leaps and bounds from what we were the last couple years, man.
yeah. There's a name too. I see Darius Slayton. That's somebody
Right,
that I'm fond of too. I think he's pretty good. And they got him listed as third string behind Galloway.
right, behind Galloway and David Stills. Like David Stills is coming from Buffalo too.
Yeah,
He was on the practice squad. He actually leapfrogged Slayton because Slayton has been doing pretty bad. He was bad
preseason.
last season. He was bad in the preseason and in training camp.
Mm,
I didn't talk about him that much because I was actually shocked that they kept him on the team. Like
yeah,
that's how bad he was. Like he kept dropping passes that was right thrown right to him in practice and in the preseason. Um,
Right.
and the only reason he is on the team still is because just yesterday he took a pay cut.
Oh.
that's another question I wanted to ask you too, because
Uh,
with the Giants cleared space.
Right.
So
They
They
have they
it
had
well.
to. They had to restructure, and we'll talk about it mostly on the defense. That's why I didn't talk about it yet. But on offense, Slayton is the only one I believe that had to restructure his contract, or he wasn't going to be on the team. He went from like 2.5 to like vet minimum,
mm,
and he
Wow.
wanted to stay with the team, so he took it.
But
um,
listen, again, I didn't hardly watch last year. The
Hmm.
first season he had the drop seed. So basically it hasn't improved.
Right. So if you're the new coaching staff and he actually is playing worse, I was really surprised they didn't cut him. And I think the only reason they kept him is because of the cut, because of the pay cut, I should say.
Right.
uh, Because I mean, the kid does have talent, so I mean, maybe he got the spooks like
What-
Chuck
Yep.
Knobloch. Chuck Knobloch was throwing into the stands when he was playing with the Yankees.
Right.
So maybe he got like spooked or something.
Yeah, I just think he's athletic. I just don't think he's very good. Like he's just not a good wide receiver in terms of catching the ball. He never was. That's why he got drafted so late. He's like a fifth round pick,
Yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
and he caught flashes. Any fifth round pick that you know does even average or pretty good, we're going to bump him up because he got drafted so low. That's
right.
what happened with Darius Slayton. It's not like he tore the world up when he in his rookie season. He just did okay. So since he was a fifth round pick, that means the world when a fifth round pick can do okay and actually put up numbers. Like he doesn't have to make the Pro Bowl or anything, but he was very, very serviceable.
Right.
Yeah, value at the pick where he was selected. Yeah,
Exactly. But in terms of that's why I didn't really talk about him because on our roster currently, like, I don't really think we're going to see him that much. Like he's really like the third string wide receiver at any position at this point.
I mean, we say that, but the Giants every year always have an injury. Like
Every
this team
season.
is the most injury-prone team I've ever watched. Like every year, there's a significant injury or two or
That is
more.
true. That is
Yeah.
true. Like I tour
Well,
the most exciting players on our team on offense are all injury prone, which is Tony, Saquon Barkley, and who else was I was thinking? No, I think just those two. Oh, Sterling Shepard. I'm sorry. Sterling
yeah.
Shepard is injury prone as hell. Like he gets hurt every season also.
Yeah, and I'm happy they got rid of Ingram too, because he was another one.
Oh, Butterfingers, yeah.
And
He had to go.
yeah,
Yep, and
Was he
off
a
the
tight
injury.
end though, man? Because he was kind of undersized for the position. Was he a tight end or was he just like a slot receiver or
Nah,
something like
you could be undersized. Like people like Shannon Sharp was undersized and he made the Hall of Fame. Like it's not the size, it's the want to. Like he just
that?
wasn't very good at the stuff that he was supposed to be good at.
Right.
So like I don't want to say he wasn't a tight end because of size. He's just not good. Period. Like wherever you put him on the field, like if you put him outside as a wide receiver, he'll just be a big wide receiver that can't catch the ball.
yeah,
Like if you could catch the ball, you could catch the ball no matter where you are in the field. Like he wasn't a good blocker, but I'm just talking about him as a receiver. Even the thing that he was supposed to be good at, he wasn't good at.
right.
Yeah.
Did that include route running?
Yeah, he wasn't that much of a route runner either. He was just athletic and fast. That's why we drafted him. It was a bad pick, and that was one of the reasons Jerry Reese isn't here either. I do believe that was his last first round pick, and then he got fired the next year. That's where David Gettleman came.
It reminds me of my wife, man. My wife can catch a football, but she can't freaking cook, man. Jesus Christ, man.
What?
You're supposed to be good at one thing, you know what I'm saying? But you can catch the hell out of a football. So my kids might be good receivers growing up, but they won't be able to microwave a cup of water and make some tea. So,
Eru giving wifey bars on the
Oh,
first show, man. You trying to get me canceled?
thank
hey,
you.
man.
Not just that on the last show too. So I don't know.
Eru crazy, man. Let's go over to the defense before he get me in trouble. Our defensive line, when you actually look at like we run a 3-4 defense, so this looks a little weird when it comes to the linebackers because our linebackers aren't really our outside linebackers, I should say, aren't really linebackers. They're like defensive ends playing on the outside,
yeah.
which is Ojulari and our rookie Kayvon Thibodeau. So they're going to be rushing the passer. They're really outside linebackers, but they're pretty much defensive ends coming from the outside. So when you go from the outside, from the inside out, like our nose tackle, when you talk about Dexter Lawrence, and Leo Williams, he took a. Speaking of Williams, he actually took a pay cut as well. So he was gracious enough to take a pay cut to make everything go smoother when it comes to the roster, too, because he didn't have to. And if he wouldn't have, I don't know what they would have done. Like they probably had to talk him into it because it was a significant pay cut. But when players that make that much money take a pay cut, they usually move it into like a signing bonus. They still get their money
Right, right.
a certain way. They just give it to them a different way. And because of that, we had to. I don't know if they had to, but usually when somebody that makes that much money takes a pay cut, you have to add another year to their contract just to make it appetizing for the player to do a pay cut because they really don't have to. Not the ones that's signed for multiple years and making a lot of money. You don't have to take a pay cut, like because if you don't, it's not like they're gonna cut you. It's not like a Darius Slayton situation.
Right,
Like he had to take that pay cut. They didn't put no more years on his contract. It's either
right,
you could take this pay cut or we're gonna cut you.
right.
But they
I
gave
think
him a significant amount, right? I'm sorry, Steph. They
no,
gave him a significant what do you call it, signing bonus?
I
I
think
think I remember.
right. I forgot how much it was. It might have been like close to over 10 mil. I had to think about it.
yeah,
I
I
have to
think
do a little research on that. But yeah, it was significant.
the other thing I read was that it increases his dead cap money next year. So something that it'll be hard to cut him even if they wanted to, because it
Right.
would be so much money left on the cap. So there's a little more security there. Like,
Hmm.
you know,
Right. That's
even if
true.
I play bad, even if I play terrible and stink up the joint, the chances that they're gonna cut me, is low.
Exactly.
It's
That
cutthroat. Football is cutthroat, man, with that stuff. Security. There's no security in football. I
exactly.
mean, with something like that, you have to you have to like really like play with the rules and stuff to the
Mhm.
loopholes. That's basically like a loophole there to
Right.
keep going
It's
on.
like the only. Don't get me wrong. Football. A lot of people don't, or at least they think that it doesn't have guaranteed money. It has a little guaranteed money. It's just not the whole contract. It's not like the NBA or baseball. Like they're all of their contracts is fully guaranteed. So that's why you'll hear like a football contract. They'll say a number, but then after the fact, they'll say another number that's guaranteed. So that's
Right.
what it, they trick you with that. So like somebody can be making a boatload of money, but can really get cut halfway through the contract and they not have to pay him that. So that's like the Leo Williams situation because David Gettleman. That's another David Gettleman signing that or trade. They traded for him, but then we had to re-sign him because if we didn't re-sign him, it would have made the trade like one of the worst trades in recent memory in the league. Like if they almost had to force his hand for us to re-sign him because if we didn't, we would have lost like a third round pick and a fifth round pick,
Wow.
and we wouldn't have had him.
Wow.
So
Is he
they
related to Steve Mills at all?
no.
It
No,
sounds a
I
lot
don't
like
think
Steve
no, I
Mills.
don't I don't think it's a New York Knicks situation, but yeah, the Giants have been looking like the Knicks for the past couple of years just because David McGettleman's been here.
Right.
Like before that is we're usually the opposite of the Knicks. We're usually stability. We didn't have that many coaches going in and out and switching and firing, but since Tom Coughlin left, we're on our fourth coach since he
Right.
left. Like that's not usually the way we do business.
Right.
So, yeah, the defensive line is actually pretty solid when it comes to Lawrence and Leo in the middle, and Ojolari and Kayvon Thibodeau, who was our number one pick fifth, and I actually have a huge upside for him. I actually like Kayvon Thibodeau. I actually think he's going to be a monster, but unfortunately, him and Ojolari are both hurt as
Correct.
well, and we don't know if they're going to play week one.
Oh my God.
So already they both got hurt already in the preseason, and they don't get me wrong, it's day to day. It's not nothing that's supposed to be ending or anything like that. But yeah, they might not make it week one. So we'll see. We don't know how our pass rush is going to be.
This kid Thibodeau, he got undercut though with the hyperextension of his knees. The guy went after his knees.
Yeah,
So,
it. But when you say undercut, a lot of people think it's a dirty play, but it's not. That actually happens all the time. That was actually Kayvon Thibodeau's fault. He's supposed to get lower. Like that player who did that who cut him and went low on the block. They're designed to do that. They're supposed to do that.
right.
Like a lot of people think it's dirty play because it looks dirty, but the defensive player is supposed to get low for that not to happen. Like he played it wrong, and he
You know,
knows it too. That's why nobody had any ill will towards the person who did it.
yeah, I was kind of shocked by that, but I guess like like to compare it to basketball, like if you're going for a steal, if you're going to dive on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
some guys reach, some guys dive,
Dive,
so
yeah.
you have to commit, so you can't hold somebody, hold it against somebody if they are going to dive for the ball because it's a loose ball, you have to go for it. So
Exactly.
if you tippy toe, in there like like a hot potato or whatever, you're going to get yourself hurt. So you got to get in the mix, and
Right.
you know,
Like the only reason it looked bad because Kayvon Thibodeau didn't see him coming. But
right,
he's taught to see him coming and neutralize that block somehow. He just
right.
didn't do it. Like he kind of messed up. A lot of people just don't see it that way because he got hurt. Like it actually happens a lot during the game.
Right.
Because I actually think we did it too. Like before that, like on a play that we had, I think one of our tight ends cut somebody at the end of the line. Like it wasn't a dirty play at all. Let's just say that.
Okay.
I don't know, man.
How how confident we in Zimenez though? I know he came off an injury, basically was shut down from what I understand last season after a mistake or what have you. So he'll be starting, right? If those two, if Thibodeau can't play, Ward will be starting, possibly
Yeah,
if
man.
Ojala can't play. But what are your thoughts on O'Shane in terms of like how he looked in the preseason, given that he didn't play a lot of games last year?
Right. He's one of those players that I actually think that they could have actually cut him too. It's just that we don't have anybody to replace him. Like he's not really Yeah, our backups. That's why I said like I was waiting for the defense. Our defense is going to be pretty bad if we get injured. Like our backups aren't really that good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Two starters, two young starters gone, man.
Right.
That's scary.
And two early picks too, because Ojolari was our second round pick last year, and Kayvon Thibodeau was obviously our first round pick this year. So talent wise, they can get after the quarterback, but they just got to stay healthy.
Right.
So now we're going to switch over to the area of trouble. Like when it comes to our linebackers, earlier, matter of fact, I'll put it back up earlier when it comes to these team captains, right? One player that is missing is Blake Martinez. Blake Martinez has been our captain for the last what 2 seasons on defense. They did not name him a captain, and they cut him the very next day. So they
Wow.
obviously knew that it was going to happen. He had a torn AC, he tore his ACL last year, so he's coming back from that. To my knowledge, he was actually healthy though. He didn't play in the preseason because he was coming back from the ACL to save him, not because he couldn't play. So I actually think that he's going to just catch on with another team and play this season. But I don't know. I think they cut him because of cap reasons. We had to get under the cap, and that's David Gettleman's fault again.
Right.
Gentlemen.
Right.
This is how I know we're in trouble. Tay Crowder was Mr. Irrelevant, wasn't he?
Yep.
Like, and now he's one of the starting. What's that, middle linebacker?
Yes.
But that being said, again, I only watched a few games last season. Did he earn that spot? Has he gotten like that much better? And are you confident in him at that spot? Or again, this is just part of us not having anyone else?
It's just part of us not having anyone else. Because
All right.
like when you look at it, you got to think about like when you see on the middle linebacker and the will. Since we play a 3-4 defense, those two linebackers are pretty much two middle linebackers that sit in the middle of the defense.
Right.
Um, Crowder, like you said, he was Mr. Irrelevant, who was the last player picked in the draft. He actually plays pretty well considering where he got drafted, but we need two more starters at linebacker going forward. They shouldn't start probably after this season. We need to draft a linebacker. The New York Giants have not drafted a linebacker in the first round since I want to say Harry Carson. It's been a long, long time, or Carl Banks, one of those.
What about? I wanted to mention Jesse Armstead because I just noticed that he's in the front office.
Hmm.
Just shout out to him. He was one of my favorite players, man.
Really? Yeah. I remember Jesse Armstead. See, I'm old, man. I remember when Jesse Armstead was coming out of college, like he went to Miami. But yeah, he was pretty good for us in the middle. But yeah, the linebackers that we have now, yeah, man, like this
What about
dude,
this kid Mika though?
Mika Mcfadden,
Yeah,
Micah McFadden. I'm sorry, that's his name. Micah McFadden. Yeah, he's coming along. I actually think he might take over the starting role during the season, but he was in college. He was mostly like a outside rusher, and he's converting to like inside linebacker. So he's learning a new position, but he's really athletic, and I think he will be good going forward. But he's just a rookie, and rookie linebackers don't really make that much impact either. It just depends on who you are.
they talked up his leadership. I want to say, during the draft, that Mika McFadden was like a steal as far as that way. That
Hmm.
he'll going to be a leader, down the road.
Hmm. And he's a weapon of sorts because our defensive coordinator, who is Wink Martindale, coming from the Ravens, he blitzes a lot. So that's pretty much Micah McFadden's calling card is blitzing from anywhere he's on the field. Like if he's blitzing and going after the quarterback, that's what he's supposed to do. Like that's what he's good at. That's his bread and butter. But him being a middle linebacker, he has to change positions. So, it's a real big learning curve. I pretty much think that's why he's not starting.
Mm.
Because the other guy, Austin, what's his name, Carlitro. This is his first time on the team. I think he's like a journeyman. He's one of the players that actually got cut when the original 53-man roster came out, and he's on the team because we had injuries and we brought him back.
Mm.
So think of that as, we cut him on the original roster, but he's starting.
Yeah, Steph, this is yucky. I'm just looking at this board, Steph.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When it comes to the defense, it get nasty, and I'm not
What
even done.
wasn't Cam Brown a third round pick?
Yeah, but he hasn't been a good player for us. Like
But
that's
this
why
is what
he's
I'm saying. You got to hit on these picks. You know what I
right,
mean? He was a third round pick. He's third string.
right. And you probably didn't notice, but he's a captain, and that's just because he's a special teams captain. Like he's become like a special teams guy, even though he was
Third on special teams.
yeah, he's good at special teams. Like I don't think he's a bad special teams player,
Okay.
but yeah, you don't draft special teamers in the third round to
In the
be
third
good
round.
special teamers.
That's
Like
true.
we
Yeah,
drafted him to be a
score
good
like this.
linebacker.
That's true. That's true.
He had to switch positions, as a matter of fact, because he was one of those guys that was supposed to get after the quarterback. Like he's supposed to be an outside guy. But since
Right.
he obviously wasn't really good at it and wasn't putting up any production, they moved him to the inside because of just depth chart.
Right.
So this money that they picked up is that to invest in this defensive? Like I'm looking at this. This is yucky. I mean,
No,
at least
man.
the guys are looking at this here.
Honestly, David Gettleman left us, the offense so not the offense, the roster so bad that the cuts that we've been making is just to get under the damn salary cap. It's not to actually get anybody else until next season.
Oh
Right.
my lord!
That's why, like this year, the people that you see are the people that you get this year. Like we can't sign anybody else.
Right.
Like we're
I think
get.
they got a. Oh, I'm sorry. Again.
I was just about to say we just freeing up cap space just in case. Say if somebody get hurt and you have to sign somebody,
Right.
that's why they're freeing up cap space. It's not to bring somebody good in. Like you can't do that.
Right.
That's over. Like you won't be able to do that until next season.
Right.
What you was gonna say, stuff?
That's what I was gonna say.
Oh,
That the
okay.
little bit we got left over was in case somebody got injured.
Right. That's just because you got injured. Because you have to pay somebody once they come back in. Like, or
Right.
if you sign somebody from the practice squad, obviously the salary changes.
But
Is
I'm
there
looking at
anybody to be high on this defense?
Not
Uh,
when it comes to the linebackers, no. The people that I'm high on the defense are the people that we pretty much talked about already, like Kayvon Thibodeau and Ojulari. But
mhm.
since they're nicked up, so we might not even see them week one. But they are the most exciting players on our defense. And Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence are pretty good in the middle too. They're like our
Right.
defensive line is going to be good.
Right. What about McKinney though? I was hearing a lot of good things
Right.
about him.
The only reason I didn't talk about him because I put him last because I think that's he's our best player.
mm,
Like McKinney might actually be. I'm gonna skip the cornerbacks because I don't think we're gonna be able to talk about them very much because we might be worse off in the cornerbacks than we are in linebacker. But if
Mm.
you just want to skip the free safety, Xavier McKinney, just to get him out the way, Xavier McKinney, after this season, he might. Hopefully, people will look at him as maybe the best safety in the league. Like he's going to be really, really good,
Wow.
especially at free safety. Like everywhere else, though, our defensive back room is terrible. Like Julian Love as at the other safety, at the strong safety, he was a backup last year. I'm not saying he's terrible, but he might just be serviceable.
Right.
Like he's not moving the needle at that position. On my cornerbacks, Adoree Jackson is pretty good. Like he's a solid quarterback, but everybody else is either going to be in and out. Like say if Aaron Robinson get hurt and we got to bring somebody in, it's going to be bad over there regardless.
Mm.
Like he's
Wow.
just a body over there. Like he. We had James Bradbury, but we had to cut him because of David Gettleman. We couldn't afford him.
right.
So we had to cut him, and he went to the Eagles. So he went to a rival, even though we needed him. He was at a position of need. If they we're probably thinnest at cornerback. It's probably the most thinnest position that we have on the team.
Now I feel bad because remember when the draft happened, I was talking to you on Twitter about Flott. I was so mad that we drafted Flott and this, that, and the other.
Right.
Now I'm looking at it like, wow, I need to like, we have a lot of holes on this defense. It doesn't look
Right.
good. I mean, like you said, the tackles are good. DJ Javinson, you didn't mention, is a rookie. I kind of like him. I don't know if he's been producing or whatever.
No,
Just the,
he was kind of hurt too. Like he didn't play that much during the preseason, but he's pretty much like a big run stopper. Like
yeah,
he's huge. Like he'll be like Dexter Lawrence. He's not gonna like rush the passer, but you're gonna be able to have to move him. Like he's a big guy.
yeah. Talking about rotation wise, that
Hmm.
rotation for the tackles will be fine.
Right.
Like everything else that you're saying here, man. Wow.
Yeah, man. When it comes to our linebacking cores, like as soon as you get past the defensive line, we are in trouble. Like Xavier McKinney can't do everything by himself, but he's so good that they actually made him a captain this year. He's supposed to be the single, like the signal caller on defense. It's not a linebacker. A lot of linebackers are usually the person with the microphone that does the plays on defense.
Mhm.
Xavier McKinney is going to be one of the few safeties I know in the league that has that capability now.
Wow.
Mhm.
He pretty much takes over for Blake Martinez as being the guy on defense. For a free safety to do that, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know what's more frustrating. No, I think I do know what's more frustrating. Having your front line not be able to get any pressure on the quarterback,
Hmm.
or having your cornerbacks getting beat play after play. I think it's the cornerbacks.
Now, but it goes hand in hand though because without
It does.
pressure, there's no cornerback that can play a wide receiver for more than like 4 seconds, man. Like you can't ask them to do that.
Yeah, and then your linebackers are not hitting nobody.
Nope.
So Jesus.
And they can't cover. I think we're gonna get killed. Like I don't know if you noticed, but like the Giants are historically bad at covering tight ends and running backs coming out of the backfield. That's just because of our lack of talent at linebacker. Like we haven't. That's one position that we've neglected for like 10 years. Like we
I
haven't
think
had a. Yeah, we haven't had a good. I don't remember the last time we drafted a good linebacker. Not edge rusher, but just a linebacker. Like I don't remember the last time that happened. Like we usually sign somebody. Like I remember when we had John Beeson, we signed from Carolina. Blake Martinez came over from the Packers. None of these guys that we actually draft and actually,
It's
use.
been a minute, man. Antonio Pierce and guys like that. Like I said, Jesse Armstead.
Right, Antonio Pierce, like we didn't draft him either. He
yeah,
played for Washington first, I think.
Yeah.
Jesse Armstead, like we don't usually draft linebackers. Like I said, the last time we drafted one in the first round, it was in the '80s, man. Like early '80s. Like I was a child. Like that's nuts. That doesn't make any sense.
Like Carl Banks and shit. Oh my. Wow, that's a long time.
I think he was the last one. Like it had to be either Carson or Banks, somebody old. Like it was all the way back then. Was the last time we
Carson,
drafted a
though,
linebacker.
Carson's like the '70s though. That's like literally before we were born, man.
Right. So like when it comes to that, like you could tell that we really neglected that position all these years. Like they refuse. I don't. I think it's because maybe because of Lawrence Taylor, when it comes to linebackers, we really focus on pass rushing.
Yeah.
And not just linebackers, anybody on the outside in general. Like we had, like even though we haven't had, blue chip kind of linebackers, we had like Michael Strahan, OC Umenyiora, JPP. Like we always had somebody that rushed the passer. We always was a team that emphasized that more than run stuffing linebackers that can cover. Like
Yeah.
we just don't have that. We never
He goes.
prioritize it.
Dehani Jones.
Oh
I'm
yeah, I
just
remember him.
yeah. Remember
what
Dehani Jones?
I remember him. Yeah, yeah. He ended up with like a ESPN show after he retired or something, but he wasn't very good either.
Yeah, he just a good-looking guy that could talk a lot. You know.
Yeah, man. When it comes to this defense, this is the part of the show I didn't really want to talk about. Like our defense is gonna be crazy. Like I get sad every time I look at this slide. You should have saw me putting it together. I was like, are you serious? Like we are terrible, man. Like
if you stop, it's like basketball. If you can't stop anybody,
it's not gonna
all
matter. So when you put all of this in account, but then we supposed to judge Daniel Jones going forward how good he is. Like how many games do you expect us to win with a defense like this, regardless of how many points he puts up?
Yo, I think we got to say this every show. Like, what is your measurements, bro? Like, can you, how many minutes can you play in the NFL today? Like,
Who?
you're like 6'5"
Oh,
and
me
still
personally,
give us
yeah.
50
Like
minutes
I
for the
guess
Giants.
this is the first show. So I guess for any new listeners, yeah, I'm a pretty big guy. Like I'm 6'4", and yeah, my weight is a little inflated now. I'm a solid 350 something, I think. But yeah, like coming out
Play
of
linebacker?
can I play linebacker? No, I'm not playing like I'm way too old. Like if you would have asked me this like 15 years ago, I'd be like, hell yeah, sign me up. But yeah, coming out of high school, I was big too. Like I went to high school, was you know, put a little bit of numbers up. I was like coming out of high school, I was big too. That's why I got like recruited from colleges and stuff. I ended up at Florida State and ended up at Marshall too. Didn't play that much, and I just pretty much fizzled out of college because of like playing. Playing is different from analyzing and looking at the game. Like I love football. Football is my favorite sport by far. Like I can watch film football all day, all night. But when it comes to playing and the stuff that you got to go through, like I actually know what it's like to be recruited and have to go through that process and showing up at Florida State. They pretty much treat you like a piece of meat, man. A lot of people use that as a cliche, but it's really true. Like when it comes to college athletics and stuff like that, like you're like one out of 1,000. Like they're not going to really treat you that special unless you're like a, you know, obvious stuff like a 5-star recruit. Like I wasn't any of that, anything like that when it comes to the rankings. I was just good and athletic. But when it comes to like my status and stuff, I didn't have any stain when I came into Florida State. They don't really care about your name and stuff like that. It's about what you can produce and how they can use you.
Yeah, it's a cold world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
World.
it's definitely like that, man. So yeah, that's our defense. Like it's nothing. I don't even know what else to say after this. Like looking at this defense, Aaron Robinson, who's our other cornerback, right? He's supposed to be a slot guy, and he was a rookie last year, and he was hurt, but he came back last year. If you put him in the slot, he's actually serviceable. But because like we had to get rid of James Bradbury and we couldn't get anybody else starter like a starter level cornerback in here, he has to move to the outside. And if you actually look at him throughout the preseason, like he's getting cooked.
Mm.
And he getting cooked preseason against backups. So when the season starts, come Sunday, you're gonna see him. They're gonna put him on an island. Like if I was any coach, I would just go at Aaron Robinson all game long. They like Xavier McKinney has to shade to his side all game. He's gonna have to.
Right.
They're gonna have to give him some type of backup because if you're just gonna have him 1-on-1 with a wide receiver, he's gonna get cooked.
Mm-mm.
I do like Darnay Holmes though as a nickel. That's the big problem with our cornerbacks. Like all of them, not all of them, but most of them are all slot guys. Because even Adoree Jackson, he can play outside and inside because he is good, but just his size. If you look at him, he looks like a slot corner. He doesn't have like the long arms. He's not 6 foot tall. Like he's a short guy that's quick, that should be in the inside of a defense. But because just the way our roster is constructed, he has to go to the outside too.
Oh man. So should I plan something for 425 this Sunday, or should I watch the game or should I plan something else?
Nah, I plan on going like with this channel. I do plan on going live every halftime of every game. So yeah,
Oh,
regardless of we're winning or losing, I got that from Eru though.
yeah.
With the Knicks going halftime, it's not gonna be called halftime to crunch time. I think it's just gonna call like the halftime check-in or something like that. But I'll be
Okay.
going halftime and I'll go throughout the rest of the game. So I don't know, man. You might have me over here in a good mood. I'm gonna just be saucy during Sundays. You know what I'm saying?
I'll put my money on Saucy.
Yeah, it's gonna be saucy Sundays, man. This is one of the reasons why I actually thought about starting this channel last year. But I had a lot of stuff going on, but for the main reason I knew we weren't going to be good, and I wanted
Yeah.
David Gettleman going. Like I didn't want to suffer through that because imagine having this channel with like the coaching staff and David Gettleman and the way we were playing last year. It would have been miserable, man. But so I figured since we got a new regime, I like the new GM that we got. I like the new head coach. And even though we're not going to be good, at least I can see some progress.
Right.
We don't look like the bad news bears. Like we was playing like the little giants last year, man. We wasn't a professional. We didn't look like a professional football team last year. Sometimes it was ridiculous.
That
So
sounds like the Knicks a lot, right? Right, Steph?
Yeah, yeah.
nah, but see, the thing is, nah. See, the Knicks were better than the Giants the past couple of years. Like for the past couple of years, at least the Knicks went to the playoffs during the COVID season, obviously, and then last year we missed the playoffs, but we missed it by like that, not that many games. It's not like we were like the 12th seed. I think we ended up being like 10th, right? No, 11th,
11. But I
something
think
like.
what was miserable about it is blown leads. Like you all hyped thinking you about to win a game.
Yeah, that's true. But
Like,
would you rather that, or would you just rather you just know you ain't gonna win?
Right.
That's how the Giants was last year. I had no faith
yeah,
in the
Yeah.
Giants last year.
Yeah, but
yeah.
that Steve Mills guy, man. After we lose and whatever, he comes on the screen and he's like, "Yeah, guys, now that we have to deal with that. That's our leadership. So it's like
Right.
nothing to really look forward to."
I got a quick slider to like the special teams, but it's nothing
Okay.
really talk about here. We got a kicker. Like it's just like fantasy football. Don't nobody care who our kickers, who our kicker and punter is. Even though
84% though, right? From what I read.
yes,
So
Graham Gano is a good kicker, but since he is a kicker, people usually don't talk about kickers. But yeah, he is a good kicker, and our punter he's pretty good too. Our kick returner and punt returner is going to be Richie James. Yeah, he's serviceable as well. It's no all stars back there. Our special teams is going to be average, I think, except for Graham Gano is a pretty good kicker. But in terms of like punt returns and kick returns, unless they have Wendell Robinson back there, and I don't even think they're going to do it with him because he was picked in the second round, and we really need him on offense. Like if he wasn't really that valuable to the offense, then he will probably be returning punts and kicks because he's probably the best special teams player that we have in terms of being a returner. Like he's real shifty. Like he's really hard to tackle. So yeah, that special teams isn't really going to be, you know, they're not going to be any type of Pro Bowlers back there unless Graham Gano just never misses a kick or something like that.
He's kind of a rock star. Like like Steph says, he's like 80 something percent,
Hmm.
whatever. He's pretty good.
Yeah, Graham Gano was pretty good. He's always been good. Like he was the kicker for the Panthers for a long time. Like he's an old David Gettleman bring over. Like remember I said like when regimes bring their players over, like Graham Gano was the Panthers kicker, so David Gettleman brought him over with a couple
Right.
other players that just didn't pan out on the team. Like he brought in over Johnson Stewart, which was a bad contract, like an old running back from the Panthers that he signed. A couple other players too, but Graham
Well,
Gano is the one who stuck.
will they use Wendell Robinson in special teams sometimes? Because when he was drafted, they were talking about
Right.
using him as a returner.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if it was up to me, he would. But I think he's so valuable, and they have so much of a I don't know, game plan for him on offense, then that they don't want to risk him
Yeah,
with
is
special
is it
teams.
sacrilegious or I don't think that's the right word, but I mean like to like compare him to like David Meggett? Because when I saw him playing, I'm like I keep thinking Dave Meggett. Is that
Yeah,
bad?
no, it's not bad because Wendell Robinson, even though he's a wide receiver, that's a good eye that you have with David Meggett because Robinson actually was a running back first. Like
Right.
he played running back first, and he switched to wide receiver because he does have good hands, and he's a very good route runner. But when it comes to David Meggett, I can see that shifty coming out of the backfield. I could definitely see
I
him
love
coming out of
Dave
the
Meggett.
backfield. Yeah, I
You remember
used to
Dave
love.
Meggett, Steph? I used to love
I
Dave Meggett.
remember that. Yeah,
Yup,
I remember.
David Meggett was the man. So I can see that. But David
Yeah.
Meggett, the reason you put him on special teams because I don't know if you noticed on the offense, he wasn't starting running back.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like Otis Anderson, Ronnie Hampton was our starting running backs, and Dave Meggett would just come out the backfield, and he was our kick returner and punt returner. That's how you have to
Right.
use special teams players like that. So since Wendell Robinson plans on having a big role in the offense, they're not going to put him back there, probably just for risk of injury. And just like Steph said earlier, like we have so many injuries from our wide receivers that you have to put him in bubble wrap all season. There's no telling when Kadarius Tony will go down. Like you can breathe on him and he'll get hurt sometimes. It seemed
Yeah.
like, you know, hate to say it with him, but yeah, he like seemed like after every game, every time he catches the ball, he looks like the best player with a football in his hand you've ever seen at one point. Like he's very elusive. Like he's all over the place. But when you do, he's so I don't know. He's the type of player that will run through people instead of getting out of bounds. So that's why he gets hurt a lot. Like he plays like he's like a big running back, but he's just a wide receiver, an average size wide receiver that's athletic and fast. He act like he try to go in there like he a tight end the way he try to run people over in the middle of the field. That's why he gets hurt a lot.
Yeah.
So
Mighty Mouse.
I brought a slider for the the schedule, and we didn't really got to get too deep into this. It was just showing that we play the Titans a late game. I really wish it was a home game as our first game, but yeah, we got to play away, and we have to tackle Derrick Henry with the defense that I showed you earlier. That was the only reason. Like this game ain't looking good just because of that, man. Like I'm not even worried about our offense. It's the defense that I'm worried about. A lot of people worry about Daniel Jones, and I know that's the topic of discussion because he plays quarterback. But our defense is going to be the topic of discussion for our team going forward this season, not Daniel Jones. It's like he's going to play well. He's not going to play well. I can see that. Like that's the big story. But the reason we lose games isn't going to be because of him. I should say.
Yeah, our defense is in trouble. We're not even mediocre. Like you said, with the linebackers and the cornerbacks.
And it's crazy because a couple years ago, or just from the time even David Gettleman's time here up until now, our defense was the one that kept us in games, not our offense. It was the other way around. And just by one off season, because we had to cut a couple players, and the way that our roster is constructed, it's flip flop now.
Mm.
We just got to see it.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I put this up with the schedule, a lot of people have to realize that we play in London this year.
Mm.
The fifth game of the season against Green Bay.
That's the 9:30 a.m.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want everybody to know. Just make sure that you don't miss the game. Mess around and wake up. You're like, oh shit, the Giants, the Giants is at halftime already, and yeah, they started 9:30. We played Green Bay.
That's
Is that
a
a
Sunday.
Sunday? Yeah,
It's a
you're about to
Sunday.
be thinking the same thing, right, Steph?
Yeah, it's a Sunday.
Yeah.
I think every yeah, I do think it's a Sunday. Every London game, I believe, is on Sunday.
Yeah.
Church.
Now,
Yeah,
yeah.
9:30. Church. Yeah. When the last time you been to church, Eru?
Omelets instead of nachos.
Pretty much, yeah.
I want to say.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, that big.
Well, the last time I went to church, matter of fact, I didn't even get married in church, so that tells you right there.
I'm not gonna lie. I did not either. We went to the Justice of the Peace.
Oh, okay. I was in Vegas. That makes it even worse.
Don't tell you, yo. You had Elvis marry you, bro?
No, but I had a guy that kind of looked like I mean, I'm not gonna say what he looked like. I got Steph is here, so I gotta keep my game. Yeah, but it was fun though. It was nothing hangover-ish like that. Nothing like that. But it was nice. We had a good time and stuff.
Ah man. Well, that was pretty much the show, man. I'm glad you guys showed up, man. Thank you. Like
Definitely.
this was.
Well, I'm glad
I'm
follow.
glad I invited you guys, man. This was very very dope. Like I like this. Like I'm on your show, Steph, for like a couple days a week. I've been on Eru's show a few times and pretty much partnering up with him with the Diehard name and stuff like that. So I'm glad you guys came. I need some more MBK fam over here though. I want to get I know Simmons is a Giants fan. I know Josh is a Giants fan. Isaiah is a Giants fan as well. I think like it's most of
Right.
people from New York, so it's either split between Giants and Jets. But I do believe most of MBK fans, the ones that are from New York, are Giants fans. I believe. I think
Yeah,
Tone might have
happy.
Tone might have said he was a Jets fan, but I'm not sure how well he actually watched, how much he watches
Savvy,
football. Though.
Savvy just said something in the chat that he follows football a lot too. So there's quite a
really?
few guys in the MBK.
Yeah, I get Savvy on here too. Savvy's super cool, man. I haven't seen him in a minute on anybody's show, but
Me too.
yeah, Savvy's dope, man. So, I wanted to put. I gotta get some mods in here too. I actually remember I told you I programmed this screen deck to do some stuff in the chat, but it ain't working. I gotta figure that out because it was supposed to be a button I press and like a link go there. I don't know what it is. We figure it out.
Yeah, I
But I,
don't see it.
but I'm gonna put both of you guys' shows in the description in the of the video. I think I already did that. So if anybody wants to look at Steph's and Eru's shows, Die Hard Knicks and Dope Soul Sports Talk, just look into the description and you can find the links.
Yeah, and you get a chance to see Jarrell doing basketball. So he's doing football here, and
Right,
on Sports Talk he does basketball.
right.
This was great. This was great. It was just good to see you talking a lot because
Oh,
on Dope Soul He's very succinct. You ask him a question, he gonna give you your answer, and that's it. He gonna fall
Right,
back.
right. I usually get in and out, especially you got to think about who I be on, not you per se, but if I be on with Stafford,
I'm just talking up
right? Salute
Stafford
the
got some energy, man.
yeah, salute the Stafford Don, man. I gotta shut up sometimes. Stafford be talking on, he'll get at me. You know what I'm saying? Like Stafford get on you quick. Like he got
yeah,
at me
and
the other day.
lately he's been like, a lot going on at work. Maybe he's
Right.
stressed out, but lately,
He been on it.
patience, no patience. Queen,
Right.
oh come on, Queen, come on, Queen.
All the
Need
time, man.
patience now.
Eru, I don't know if you missed it, man. I had told him, see, we gonna talk about the Knicks now. We talk about the Giants. No, we talk about the Knicks real quick. I had said, Cam, we had a conversation with Grimes versus Cam Reddish. And I had the nerve to say Cam Reddish was a better player. Stafford got at me like I was nuts. You would think that Quentin Grimes was Allen Houston all of a sudden. Like, where the hell did you guys see Quentin Grimes just have all the talent in the world now? Like, he just leapfrogging players on the team like RJ and Cam Reddish. That's a little weird to me,
Well,
man.
well, Steph's last show, like he was apologizing and all kind of stuff. I'm like, what happened? You know, because I had just popped in. I was trying to see if I can get on, but he was mad apologizing. Did he say something to Steph? Like, what happened?
No, somebody in the chat,
Yeah.
um, it might have been Greg. I'm not sure. Shout out to Greg,
Hmm.
who said, you being mad disrespectful. You cutting the queen off while she talking. You ain't even letting her finish her what she's saying. I didn't think so. So I
Right,
think he
right.
was just saying, he let it ride. He didn't say nothing then, but then toward the end of the show, he was like, much respect. I wasn't trying to, but I didn't see it. You get excited. I do that too. I get excited. I'll cut
Right.
somebody off in a minute too.
Right. It don't matter. You know, it's usually all love. Me, Stafford, and the bowling chick has been on Steph's show what every Tuesday for like the past 2 months, all throughout the off season. So yeah, we get a little
Right.
spirited on there. It don't matter.
Yo,
Like it's all
shout
love.
out to Sim. Back in the days, man, the panel used to be crazy. Sometimes Sim would
Right.
mute everybody and pop everybody over and say, "Listen," and then he would like just go almost like daddy, like he's put
Right,
everybody in the corner and whipping everybody. That's when he was using like the other interface.
Hmm.
He
right,
was,
right, right.
Cause you gotta do that if you're the host of the show and everybody just talking over each other like for a
yeah,
long time. Like you can, you know, like, a lot of people talk over each other just because you just gotta get something out. But once it happens, like for a whole 10 minutes straight, yeah, don't nobody want to listen to that.
yeah.
That's crazy.
You
Right.
you gotta hear Sim talking about this is my show. Like whoa, like, it got bad when he used to
I'm
doing
about to
that.
say I didn't hear him say that. Like I never seen him get mad like that.
Yeah, he used to get mad sometimes because what's his name? Mark used to go crazy, and then also
Right.
Guillermo too used to get crazy too.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
Right.
man,
yeah.
That
that was
was
a
Salute to
good old
Guillermo.
days.
before that. Yeah, shout out to Grandma. That was before I came on, but I heard about it.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was the good old days.
matter of fact, I should say salute to Sim. Salute Sim. Like Sim has been, everybody. Well, not everybody, but if you know the MBK fam story, everybody knows that it starts with Sim, man. Like he's the reason why I got into like I don't want to say vlogging, but video production. Period. Like I had a podcast. It was a hip hop podcast, but we just did audio, and I was just so happened to find his YouTube channel and like, yo, what the hell is this? Like, I'd never seen this before. Like, the
Yeah,
production value is crazy. So, I
Right.
pretty much just re-engineered his stuff that he got going on over there. Like, Sim is great, man. So, salute to him. Hopefully, he can come on the show. I wouldn't mind being a NBK fam affiliate. I know this is a different sport and everything, but yeah, if he ever gets a or ever wants a football division for NBK, yeah, I'm pretty much on it, man. I get my little logo, NBK logo, hashtag on the screen and everything.
There you
Like I
go.
wouldn't mind that.
There
Wouldn't
you
mind
go.
that at all. So salute to him, salute to NBK, salute to the front stoop. Like I've been trying to get on there because naturally I talk hip hop a lot because I used to. I just haven't been able to get on there a lot because a lot of time they get on late. Like he'll send me an email, we about to do a show in 10 minutes. It'll be like 10:30. like all right, so like now, or either I'll be asleep already. Like the last time he sent me one, I was actually asleep already, and then him and Tone trying to get me on talking something pretty much. I'm pretty sure it was about Nas era.
I'm about to say because the front stoop is like literally like the front stoop of Niles' house. That's what that's the front stoop.
The front stoop of Queensbridge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah, they big Nas fans over there. So salute to Sim, salute to Tone, Josh. Who else with MBK? Freezy, like
Please.
uh, Gmo, like anybody. All the branches from MBK just starts from nothing but Knicks. It's just everybody just branched off and do their own thing, man. It's great over there.
Yep.
yeah, definitely.
So salute to him. Man. Anybody got any last words? About to get off of here.
Thank you for inviting me. I learned a lot as well. So I
Yeah,
did my research before I came on, so I was able to follow what everybody was saying, and I learned some things as well. So this is a good way to get back into watching the Giants as well. So yeah.
yeah. There's
Cool,
definitely like a
cool.
primer episode. Listening
Right.
to you speak, listening
Right.
to Terrell speak. So I'm really excited too. Just looking at the numbers, looking at the names, and just being excited about it. So it's good.
Yeah, this should be dope, man. I plan on, coming on here every Sunday. Like I said, I might do a show during the week just for like some type of mid-week check-in to talk about like the team we're going to play on Sunday or something like that. I haven't figured that out yet, but I do know I'm definitely going live during the game, like on halftime. Like pretty much set my sights on that. So yeah, got everything pretty much mapped out, but we'll see. I'm one thing being a host. I have to remember that I have a chat over here. Salute to C Max, still CAA fans. Salute to my wife for being the first one on the chat. Hold on, see if I can. Let me put
You
this.
shout him something, man. Do something for him.
Hold on, after broadcast. Here we go. Salute to wifey being the first one.
Aha.
Oh,
Aha! I put it over there, get it out of Steph's face. You know what I'm saying? And then see, obviously Steph says something. Salute to the chat. Ha. And then C Max still CA fans. Let me see if I can size this up. Hold on. Here we go. Shout out to the chat. But the Giants
Giants suck.
suck. Yo, that's what's
That's how you know you're doing something good when somebody comes in and heckles you on the first episode, right?
yeah, that's what's up, man. So salute to C Max still CAA fans, man. I actually like that. I don't mind having other fans that's not
yeah,
Giants
yeah.
fans in here. I want to invite the bowling chick since she's such a big
Oh, check.
Jets fan. That'll be a
Yep.
nice conversation too.
Yeah, yeah. Don't let her take over though. She's fluent. That's like another language. She's fluent Jetese.
Right. She's definitely. I like diehard fans of any team pretty much. Like I like getting spirited debates when it comes to football, especially because I know diehard fans. Like you'll have a conversation. I know you guys know this with the Knicks. You have a conversation with anybody that knows what they're talking about.
Right,
It's not about agreeing or disagreeing. I don't care what team you like in football. As long as you know the game of football, I could talk with you all day about football.
right, right, right.
Even if you don't, like you don't have to be like coach level. Like as long as you know what team you root for and some of the players, we can always have a conversation about football. It's easy.
Right.
So salute to everybody watching. We about to get out of here. I don't really have an outro written out yet, so I'm gonna just put my little outro video
Yeah.
and we out.